Hello everyone, আমি তুর্য. I hope সবাই ভালো আছেন, সুস্থ আছেন, and everybody is staying safe. Um, I'm here with this podcast, and welcome to Drummerhood at Home, an initiative by Stargazer where we talk with all the drummers and we find out সবাই কেমন আছে, কি করছে. But সবচেয়ে interesting হচ্ছে through this show we are getting to know all the pioneer drummers, their uh, story of their journey into the music from them in their words, and this is absolutely phenomenon. It's amazing. There are so many things, there are so many stories. So আমি আজকে বেশি কথা বলবো না, just ছোট্ট করে একটু বলতে চাই যে um, very soon we will announce the end of our season of Drummerhood at Home. So but we will be back because there are so many drummers that we need to talk. Okay, এবার with no further ado, let me start the show. And our guest আজকে is সবাই জানেন, এতক্ষণে সবাই জেনে গেছেন who's our guest. And কি বলবো, মানে uh, I've heard so many stories about this gentleman, so many stories, and uh, I feel honored that I know him, I talk to him, and today uh, we will get to know all his inside story of his journey into music. And with no further ado, it's my honor to welcome from the Lightnings, the most charismatic and one of the finest drummers of the country, our beloved Mr. Neo Gabriel Mendez. Good evening, Neoda. Welcome to Drummerhood at Home.
Thank you, Turjo, and a good evening to you. Thank you very much for having me here. I feel most indebted to you, and thank you again.
Dada, how are you? How have you been in the lockdown and everything?
Uh, I've been well, actually. Been able to get so many things done. Things that I wasn't able to do or complete. Because of office commitments, etc., etc. Now that we are spending time at home, in a way, it's turned out to be quite a boon that I'm able to, complete all these things on my project diary, which have been
Right,
pending because, lack of time. But it's good
right.
now. I'm not complaining.
না, the same here, দাদা. যেটা বুঝতে পেরেছি সেটা হচ্ছে যে অনেকের সঙ্গে যোগাযোগ একেবারে বন্ধ হয়ে গেছিল, এবং পার্সোনালি স্পিকিং অনেক আহ, মানে আনইম্পর্টেন্ট কাজে টাইম টাইম স্পেন্ড করা হতো আর কি. সো যেটা এখন বুঝি যে ঘরে থেকেও we can always communicate and keep in touch with the people that we haven't been talking to in a while. So দাদা, we'll just start off. আপনার থেকে আজকে আপনার journey into music শুনবো, and after shop anything you want to say, we want to hear about you, about we want to know about you. So dada, just start করবো with your childhood. Please যদি একটু বলতেন.
Yeah, thank you. So I was born and raised in Chittagong, and I went to school in Chittagong. I came to Notre Dame College in Dhaka, and then subsequently to Chittagong University. And then the Liberation War came about, and so in 1971 we start. In '72 we started a business. So I got quite involved in my work, and so not much time was left for music. But speaking of Chittagong, that many people have asked me, how is it that a great number of bands came out of Chittagong? What was the reason behind that? And because I was growing up in the 50s and the 60s, so I witnessed this, to a great degree myself also. Uh, in those days, uh, we didn't have people who were playing Western instruments. So uh, most of the musicians came from Kolkata.
আচ্ছা.
They were mainly Anglo-Indian musicians and Goan musicians, and
Mhm.
they were typical dance bands. Piano leading the band most of the
Mhm.
time.
Right.
Uh, There were horns, there were saxophones, there was clarinets, there were trumpets, uh,
Wow.
there were drums. Uh,
Hmm.
guitars came a little later, but uh, these people who came from Calcutta and from Goa or wherever, they are really the pioneers of music, of Western music in our country. And because Chittagong was the port city, because most of the international companies were based out of Chittagong, and because
Yeah.
Chittagong was the commercial capital those days of this part of the world, so the expatriate community, they would involve themselves in parties and dances, etc. And so the Chittagong Club, the Catholic Club, the Railwaymen's Institute. Uh,
Hmm.
these were the places where the band members who came from Calcutta used to play, and also there were people who came from those sailors from the ships who used to come to the
Ah,
Catholic Club, and
right.
they themselves brought in their own, own quality of music, and some of them were very, very good singers and guitarists, ukulele players, and so Chittagong really, being a port, it kind of was the bedrock of Western music in the country, and I don't know somehow, I kind of relate back to other ports which have been also bedrocks of music. Liverpool
Right.
comes to mind immediately.
Hmm.
Hamburg comes to mind immediately. That these were melting pots of various kinds of music. Uh, I mean, if you talk about the Beatles, for instance, they were playing rock and roll. A lot of it was black music, music from Little Richard, Muddy Waters,
Right.
uh, you know, uh, mm, leading musicians of the time, bringing their own genres of music. So I kind of like to relate Chittagong like that. That
Hmm.
Chittagong
Hmm.
was a port, and ships from all over the world used to come there, and we were the great beneficiaries of these people who would come to the Catholic Club, I mean,
Right.
to play their music. And so, that was kind of a foundation, along with the Anglo-Indian people who came from Calcutta. And
Yeah.
so, that became the bedrock for us too, and for many of the bands who were influenced to play Western music with Western instruments.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Dada, how did music or drumming start for you? I know music started earlier than drumming for you, but একটু যদি বলতেন please.
Yeah, well, let me go back a bit.
জি.
My mother insisted that all our siblings, uh, she was very culturally oriented, and she said that all the siblings must be involved in one type of music or the other, whether vocals or instrumentals. And so,
Mhm.
Noel, our older brother, he uh, he started learning how to play Hawaiian guitar because that was my mother's favorite instrument. And
আচ্ছা.
so I started learning piano accordion because it was very attractive. In those days, Raj Kapoor used to play piano accordion in his movies, and it was
Right.
so attractive. I was instantly drawn to piano accordion. My younger sister Jean, she was learning how to sing. Uh, my younger brother Norman, who's himself a very good drummer, he used to play
Mhm.
tabla, and my younger brother Niblet used to play keyboards. And so,
Okay.
I mean, all of us except one, we were already learning music through tutors, and so,
Right.
we were already kind of, we already had the background and the basis, if you may, to
আচ্ছা.
start playing music professionally. And then, once we had completed a couple of years, I mean, the learning must have started around 63. So once we had done a couple of years of training, then we used to, me and my brother, my older brother, the two of us, we used to play in variety shows. Those days there were variety shows, where you had. I mean, the format was that you had an evening where 20, 20 items, some
Right,
singing,
right,
some dancing,
right.
some music. So variety shows were the format of the day. So we would,
Acha.
we would usually present 3, 4 songs in a variety show
Hmm.
and maybe back up 1 or 2 singers. You see, so that's how we entered into music, and
Okay.
uh, so then uh, maybe I have to also come in here and discuss about how the band evolved. So
Yes.
we had friends in school, and so
Hmm.
we had a neighbor by the name of Jamil, and Jamil used to play
Okay.
kettle drum in the school marching band, and so
Okay.
I mean he was keen to play music with us,
Hmm.
and so we organized a pair of bongos for him, and I'll tell you the story of the bongos also.
Okay.
And Shakil, who was also in school with us, uh, he expressed an interest, and he and Farid, I think they discussed together, and that's what brought the band together. So we were Noel,
Okay.
myself, Farid on bass,
Right.
Shakil on guitar, and Jamil on drums. Uh,
Okay.
Subsequently, we took, we had, so this must have been 1965 when we got the band together.
Acha.
And so I was still playing piano accordion at the time.
Okay.
Uh, in 1967, our drummer had to leave for some reason, and so
Acha.
for a brief while, there was another drummer that came in by the name of Reggie, and in fact, we
Okay.
did our first TV show. We did our first TV
Oh,
performance in Dhaka with Reggie as the drummer. Uh,
okay. Okay.
but then Reggie also had to leave, and I used to play the drums because uh, all the instruments were in our house, and so
Hmm.
when I had done playing piano accordion,
Right.
I used to play the drums, and so I became okay on the drums. You see, so when Reggie left, the band had no alternative, and so I was then kind of pulled in to play drums for the band. So that's how my playing drums, comes into my musical background. About the bongos, I have to tell you a story which is quite significant. We had a pen pal in those days living in Los Angeles, and so we used to communicate with him by letter, and each letter would take months before it reached him, and then he would write and reached us. So
Okay.
one day
Okay. Okay. Wow.
we we
Wow.
found a packet in the mail. You know, so the postman had come and delivered a packet to us. We opened the packet and we found a pair of bongos, and it was sent
Oh,
by our pen pal. His name was Larry King, incidentally, not the same Larry King, I think.
acha. Okay. Okay.
And he had included a pair of bongos because we
Wow.
had written at some point in time that we had formed a band and that we were playing,
Wow.
etc. So he just sent us a pair of bongos by post, and we received it intact. And so Jamil was playing
Such a
bongos
nice
before
gesture. Okay.
so before we started playing drums, and
Uh-huh.
I mean, in our country, as you know, bongos, like any other skin instrument, they used to become very loose. So in order to fix that, we put 2 light bulbs under the 2 bongos, and we used to connect them up, when we were playing,
Ah.
so that our bongo player used to look radiant from the light that came from his bongos,
Uh-huh.
and he
Of
was
the
getting a
bongos.
lot of attention too. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
that's the story of the bongos. And
Okay. Okay.
so then after he left, I came to play the drums. And if later on when you're showing our pictures,
Yeah.
I hope you'll be able to show our first drum set, which had one big
Oh,
bass
yes.
drum and one
Yes. Yes.
cylinder, and it had a cymbal that was hanging from a kind of a stand on top of the bass drum,
Bass drum.
and
Yes. Yes.
so that's what we played for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so how did I come to play the drums? Yeah, that's the background. How I came to play the drums. Uh,
Wow. Wow.
at this
Dada,
time, I
by
think
that time,
at
keep,
this time I think I should
keep.
mention about some of the more famous musicians in Chittagong and Dhaka at the time.
জি,
that we used to see, we used to see in the various clubs, and who really also were an inspiration for us. There was a Mr. McDermott, he used to play piano, also a Calcutta Anglo person. And there was
okay.
uh, Denzel Gonsalves, he used to play saxophone. Also, he had a band called the Moonglows. There was
Oh,
a Mr. De Cruz. There was Morris Walker, the famous drummer, and
mm-hmm.
and later on, there were several other people who we used to just go to watch. When they were playing dances,
Okay.
we used to just stand in the corner to see how they're playing and what they're doing. And in Dhaka those days also there were some quite some senior musicians. I don't know if you remember Horace Pereira. Horace Pereira used to play drums,
Oh,
and his father was
okay.
a pianist. So later on, he
Acha.
ran that St. Margaret School. But Horace Pereira's father, Mr. Pereira,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
there was Mr. Pino. He was a Filipino. He used to play drums, and they used to play in the Dhaka
Okay. Okay.
club
I- I've heard
regularly.
his name. I've heard
Yeah,
his name.
then there was Mr. Charlie. He used to play clarinet, and there was Willie
Uh-huh.
Rosario. He used to play saxophone, and subsequently there
Right.
was somebody who was a little older to us, but he used to play guitar, Telford Johnson.
Mm.
So these are some of the
Okay.
names that we can kind of think back on.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and
Um.
there was another gentleman from Karachi, Sonny D'Souza. He used to play a very good trumpet, and
Okay.
and so I mean those days, the big trumpet music used to be Herb Alpert, etc. And so
Mm-hmm.
these gentlemen
Mm-hmm.
were very good in doing all of that. So and
Right.
there's much that we learned from them. Yep.
Uh, দাদা একটু ছোট্ট কোয়েশ্চেন করবো এই যে by this time you guys have already formed a band and uh, you guys were playing, at least you guys were playing at home আর ছোটখাটো গিগ করতেছিলেন, বাট আমি একটু জানতে চাইবো যারা এই পয়েন্টে যে ওই সময় একদম দ্য ভেরি বিগিনিং ইনস্ট্রুমেন্টস, what did you have? I know you had that drum kit with a big bass drum, but
Yeah.
other instruments like
So
আপনি
other
তখনও
instruments
যখন
was
clarinet বাজান?
other instruments was there was we had an acoustic Hawaiian guitar that Noel used to play,
আচ্ছা,
and subsequently my father bought him an electric Hofner Hawaiian guitar, which is really fancy guitar, and
ওকে,
Shakil used to play a Hofner acoustic, also a Hawaiian guitar. I used to play a Horner piano accordion. That was a really
ওকে,
nice, German
নাইস,
piano accordion. Um the drums, of course, was the Pakistani drum set,
জি,
and so bass in those days, the concept of bass was double bass. Everybody in the bands was
ওকে,
playing double bass. You see,
হুম,
but we couldn't afford a double bass, and Farid was very keen. He was very keen on playing music right from the beginning, and he's been like a lighthouse for us. He's been guiding us. He's been holding our hands, and we all, although we were kind of a bit senior, in music, but still,
রাইট,
we were getting fresh ideas from him, and so, I mean, it was a great combination for all of us, which I'll talk about. But in the meanwhile, so
জি,
there was one electric Hawaiian guitar, and there was
হুম,
one acoustic Hawaiian guitar. There was me on piano accordion, and there
রাইট,
was Farid on this T-chest bass, and
আহা,
Jamil used to play bongos and subsequently uh, drums. Now you may want to know about this T-chest bass because this is
জি,
this is something
জি।
this is something
আমি
that
পিকচারটাতে নোটিস করেছি এটা, ইনফ্যাক্ট পিকচারটার সময় আরেকটু জিজ্ঞেস করবো, বাট প্লিজ যদি একটু বলতেন দাদা, প্লিজ,
yeah.
আমি আই হ্যাভ নোটিস
So
ইট, আই হ্যাভ নোটিস ইট।
yeah, so these Filipino sailors used to come from the ships when they would land in Chittagong. They would come to the Catholic Club, and
জি,
so because they couldn't carry their instruments, they
হুম,
uh, they kind of put this thing together, which I suppose must have been popular in the Philippines because
হুম, হুম,
they also may not have had the money to buy I mean proper instruments. So
রাইট,
so these Filipino guys, when they would come to town, they would come to the Catholic club, and three or four of them would get together and sing and play ukulele and guitar. And one of the instruments they would play was the double bass. It was basically a tea
হুম,
chest, and you cut a hole in the
ওকে,
middle, a small hole, and you
ওকে,
you had a thin twine that went from the hole, and there was like a rod, and you tied the string at the end of the rod, and as you
ওকে,
pulled the rod, you could change the tone of the You could change
and
the
the note,
tone as
right,
well as the
right,
note
right,
of the bass.
right,
So that was the
right.
first instrument that Farid played, and then from then onwards, we uh, we got Farid an electric guitar, but the strings were tuned to bass tuning instead of electric guitar
Hmm.
or normal guitar tuning. So then
Right.
Farid moved from teacher's bass to an electric guitar, which he had
Okay.
converted into the first four strings he had converted into bass notes. So
Okay.
that was the our
Wow. Amazing.
initial instruments. Yes,
Amazing. Made your
yes,
own instrument when you didn't have one. Mane, there's nothing like it. The love for music just reflects right then and there. So
correct.
দাদা তারপরে your first proper drum kit মানে uh,
Yeah, but
I
before
I
that,
জি
before that, I just want to, with that
জি
setup, we actually used to not only play in variety shows, but we used to play in
uh-huh.
school concerts, and we also played in some dances. And in
Oh
fact,
wow. Okay.
with that set of instruments, we in
Hmm.
1965 we also played on Dhaka TV. Our first show was on
আচ্ছা
Dhaka TV
আচ্ছা
with that set of
okay.
instruments.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we're not only we were strapped of equipment, but
Hmm.
we had the bravery to appear on TV with with this
Wow.
type
The
of
spirit.
instruments. So
That's
we
the
were playing
spirit.
in we were playing in a lot of places, with that
জি
with that equipment. So
okay. Okay.
yep,
Okay.
yeah,
আহ, তারপরে দাদা সেই মানে ইয়াটাতেই চলে আসতেছি বারবার সেটা হচ্ছে that you have a very attractive Ludwig drum kit.
yeah, yeah.
এইটা কবে আসলো আপনার কাছে? কিভাবে আসলো? এন্ড এটা একটু জানতে চাই। বিকজ এই কিটটার হিস্ট্রি, এই কিটটার কথা এত শুনেছি। মানে সবাই একটা কথাই বলতো। মানে কামাল ভাই said the same thing, শাহিদুল হুদা ভাই said the same thing. In fact, I have heard it many times from চোকন ভাই and মুনা ভাই যে কারো কোনো মানে ড্রাম কিট রিলেটেড কোনো প্রবলেম হলে এভরিবডি ইউজ টু টার্ন আপ টু ইউ এন্ড ইউ ইউজ টু সে জাস্ট টেক মাই কিট এন্ড প্লে। অ্যান্ড
Yeah.
এই কিটটা সম্বন্ধে একটু যদি দাদা বলতেন প্লিজ।
Okay.
অত আমরা দেখবো এই কি ভিনটেজ কিটটার ছবি, বাট দাদা একটু যদি bol
Okay. So, at the time we were playing in a lot of places, and in fact, uh, in my father's company, there were people in the company who also would have house parties, and so they would invite us to play, and so we used to go and play in their houses too. And my
রাইট।
father, I can imagine, must have been a very proud person and at the same time we were kind of making noises that we really need to go for better instruments if we have to I mean improve our quality, etc. And so my father asked us, if you were to get, what would you choose? And so
আচ্ছা।
Noel asked for a Hofner electric, Shakil asked for a Hofner electric, Farid asked for a Hofner bass, and I of course asked for Ludwig because Ringo Starr was playing Ludwig in those days.
Ludwig, yes.
And so we used to see these pictures, of Ringo Starr, and so I told my father, I said, not only do I want a Ludwig, but I want exactly the same color and exactly the same makeup.
Okay.
One
আচ্ছা।
bass drum,
রাইট,
two toms, one bass tom, one snare, hi hat,
রাইট।
and two cymbals. And the cymbals were just outstanding. They were Zildjian cymbals. We used to call them Avedis Zildjian in those days. Now, of course, they're
ওকে।
shortened to Zildjian, but
Children, okay.
just I mean the outstanding drum set,
হুম।
fantastic cymbals, and we were so very pleased. And at that time too, my father gifted us all this equipment, including uh, one Fender Showman amp and one Fender Bassman
ওকে।
amp, and a Philips
ওয়াও,
keyboard, and Echo
ওয়াও,
machine. So we had all the
ওকে।
equipment together, and so that's
রাইট,
when that phase of ours was the serious phase of music. That's when we
রাইট।
as we really embarked on music of very very high quality. We used to practice sometimes 8 hours a day, and for 3 4 days a
ওয়াও,
week,
ওয়াও।
and all the I mean equipment was in our bedroom, and so we would just
আচ্ছা।
pick up and play, and I have to
হুম,
say
হুম।
that I can't thank my father enough, because I mean, with that kind of money those days, he could have bought, he could have bought a home in Chittagong, but
Hmm.
he just thought that these young people, they kind of needed the boost, and so
Right.
he just gifted us all of that. So we are most grateful to him, and to my mother who always wanted us to be musicians.
Wow, what an encouragement! The level of
Yeah, yeah,
encouragement, I mean, you could
yeah,
feel right then and there, man. Wow.
absolutely.
So, Dada, when you first saw the drum kit, how did you feel? What was? I mean, I'm sure you unpacked it. What was going through in your mind, Jagan? You just first got your hand on it,
So it came in obviously in large cartons, and
right?
all of us, all four of us, we got into the act of opening up the cartons because alone
Right.
it was not possible to lift everything.
Hmm.
And each
Hmm.
time, one thing came out, we used to wonder,
Right.
what is this? Where do we put
Oh
this?
wow.
And then once we fitted it in, there used to be
Mm.
usually a big scream or a huge hurrah, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
I mean, it was really I can't describe it in words how everybody felt taking out their instruments because it all came together, you see.
Came
So
to
it was really
outside.
a fantastic day, I mean, in the history of our lives actually.
Right. Right. So, দাদা, just equipment unpack করেই সব হুক করে বাজানো আর you guys started playing.
Yeah, more or less, because you see,
Out of the
you
excitement.
see, before that, when we were playing with these other instruments, so
Gee.
we didn't have amplifiers, but my father had a very
Mhm.
big radio. It was a
Wow.
big transistorized radio,
Gee.
and you
Gee.
had to put in batteries in that, and so we used that as our amplifier for the Hawaiian guitars. And so
Okay.
that used to be the guitar used to be connected to that radio, and then the
Mhm.
radio
Ah,
used to be put in front of the house mics. And also Farid, once he
okay.
started moving into the electric guitar to play his bass,
Gee.
that guitar also used to be plugged into that radio. And of course, I used to play on the house mics, and the drums in those days, didn't have microphones. So
Didn't have much.
that's how we first electrified our sound, amplified our
Right.
sound. So you can
Okay. So,
imagine, I mean, when these huge Fender amps came about, and
right.
I mean, we plugged in our guitars into these amps for months afterward. We kept on learning all the various features. Taking out the brochures and catalogs and learning
Right.
how to
Right.
get what kind of effect, because Fender had a great reverb
Hmm.
feature. Which was I mean, short of echo, with great reverb
Right.
feature. In those days, as we were playing I mean, instrumentals from the Shadows, from the Ventures, etc. And
Mhm.
particularly the Shadows. If you listen to pieces like Peace Pipe, for instance, you'll find there's
Right.
a lot of echo in that. And if you listen to Fenders, you'll find there's a lot of reverb in that,
Hmm.
which made the guitar sound and have a different kind of depth altogether, and the sound carried nicely, like a big hall effect. So
Right. Right.
yeah, it was very exciting time for months and
Very
months
exciting.
because we kept on discovering new features,
uh,
that
uh-huh.
would excite us. And so each time we discovered one, we'd call everybody, all the band, and say, "Hey, look at this! Hey, look at that!" And
I
we'd
found this out. I found that out.
yeah,
Wow.
wow, yeah, let's try this. Yeah, also, I see. So that piece, that song or that instrumental has this sound effect to it. Okay, so now we can
Mhm.
apply that sound effect when we're
Like
playing
that.
that
Oh,
particular cover, you see.
right, right. So it was more like getting into it and trying to figure out and discovering something new and straight away applying it to the music.
Yeah, absolutely. And because they were so advanced in those days, so there
Right,
was, there was so much to discover. And so we were kind of
right.
tinkering along all the time, as to, okay, now, what else is next. And so,
Hmm.
very exciting times, not only receiving, but even uh, months afterwards, when we
Hmm.
started, finding out the new features.
ওকে, দাদা একটা ছোট্ট কোয়েশ্চেন করবো এখানে, যেটা হচ্ছে এই যে ব্র্যান্ড নিউ নতুন ইকুইপমেন্ট গুলা পাওয়ার পর, the very first gig after you got all the equipment, how did it came about, if do you remember, এই যন্ত্রগুলো নিয়ে যখন ফার্স্ট স্টেজে উঠলেন?
So we used to already play for the Catholic club and the Chittagong club,
Right.
and
Yeah.
also there were other halls that used to have dances. We used to play mainly for dances,
Okay.
and of course concerts too. So we were playing regularly. We had gigs all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
so when the new instruments came about, the first place was the Chittagong club, and then the Catholic club, and then there was
Mm-hmm.
two or three. There was a Jamal Khan Hall, and there was a Christchurch Hall, and Railwaymen's
Okay.
Institute. And so, we used to play there. And so, when we came out with when we came out to play with this new equipment, I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
not only us who are so proud and who are so brightened up, but even the listening community, the people who attended
Right.
the dance, they wouldn't dance.
Right.
They used to just stand in front of the stage and
Okay.
stare in awe at us, at the sound that was
Okay.
coming out. And uh, Farid was a great stickler for to get the perfect cover sound. And
Mm-hmm.
Shakil was about the best musician I've come across in my life. Not only was he a great guitarist, but he used to
Mm-hmm.
play keyboards too, and
Right.
fantastic singer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when we play, and we used to do. We are perhaps the only band that used to do four-part harmonies. All of us used to sing, and there
Okay.
was one lead singer, and then the rest were all harmonies, and all of us used to
Mhm.
sing lead, and all of us used to sing harmonies. So when we used to play on stage with our new equipment,
Right. Right.
not only younger people, even the
Mhm.
older crowd, they used to not dance. They used to just stand and stare.
Right.
After the
Right.
first shock, if you may, then
Mm-hmm.
they went and started dancing. But
Okay.
for the first few minutes or so, for the first few songs, they used to just
Mm-hmm.
look and stare at us.
Just
See,
stare at you.
wow. I mean, this is something they saw in the movies, So this was the
Mm.
first time that they were seeing live I mean, in their eyes, and we were so proud to
Amazing.
be a part of that contribution.
Wonderful, wonderful. Dada, getting to know so many information, so many stories that never heard before. Jantamona, thank you very much. Dada, uh, আমার লাইটনিংসের ছবি দেখে the first thing that came to my mind was the Beatles. হ্যাঁ,
Yeah,
মানে from the clothes to the equipments to আমি তো I wasn't lucky enough to hear you guys, but except from the ear part, it all looked so much like Beatles. আহ, আমি এই
yeah.
পয়েন্টে একটু জিজ্ঞেস করবো দাদা, আপনাদের ইনফ্লুয়েন্সেস ওই সময় মানে instrument wise or as a whole band, what were you guys actually following or trying to reproduce as a band?
Well, of course, the kind of instruments our band was composed of, it naturally gave to playing, instrumentals. So we were
Right.
playing both English instrumentals as well as Bangla instrumentals, and Bangla also
আচ্ছা,
because we used to back up singers, who used to sing in Bangla in those days. You see, so
আচ্ছা.
so we were doing quite a bit of instrumentals at the time, and that's
Mhm.
because if we wanted to do vocals, which we did, but it didn't come out so nice because in those days we wouldn't have the kind of PA systems that we have now. You see, so we
Right.
largely
Right.
we largely stuck to playing a lot of instrumentals, but we also attempted playing Bangla songs for variety shows and concerts,
Hmm.
etc. But for dances, we used to play instrumentals as well as we used to sing. And in those days, even in dances, it was mainly instrumentals that were being played. I mean,
Hmm.
for ballroom dancing, there was the Billy Vaughan, orchestra, who was very very well known. Then for twist, etc., there was Bill Black's combo. So these were all instrumentals.
That's
The first
instrumentals.
the first vocals that came about was, Elvis Presley, Cliff Richard, and so we used
Hmm.
to attempt some of those things. I have to
আচ্ছা.
say that it was very difficult to come out with a good sound because the sound systems didn't exist, and also the
Okay.
quality of our musical instruments weren't really top. And
Hmm.
So when the new instruments came in, soon after we bought a PA system from an Italian band that was playing at the Hotel Agrabah, and so that was a proper PA system, with all the effects, and so we then attempted to do a lot more vocals, especially the four-part harmonies,
Mm-hmm.
with this PA system, and the band to follow, in terms of harmonies, was really the Beatles, because the Beatles used to harmonize on every song.
Every
You know,
song.
I
Yeah.
can't I can't
Yeah.
remember the Beatles doing any songs without harmonies, and sometimes four-part
True.
harmonies. And also
True.
George Harrison, his lead guitar parts were
Mm-hmm.
superb, as were
Mm-hmm.
John Lennon's compositions and their, the chord backup, etc. You see. So I mean, it's I have to say, when you think about that then and now, I mean,
Yeah.
Shakil and Farid used to sit for hours together on the roof of our house, hours together, trying to find out chords for the various songs that
Right.
we would play, whether instrumentals or
Mm-hmm.
vocals. And so, and Farid and Shakil were both geniuses when it came to that, because you see, unlike nowadays, where
Mm-hmm.
you can go online and you can get the chords for every song. Those days we didn't get the chords for it. We had to do our own chords, and it
Yeah.
was painstaking, because each time we found out the chords, then we realized, maybe this is not the right one. Maybe
It's
there's a
not the right.
seventh here. Maybe there's a seventh here, or this is a
Yeah.
suspended chord here, or this was a
Mm-hmm.
ninth, or this was a major
Yeah.
seventh. So
Mm-hmm.
all the Beatles, were very very good at these things. They just
Yeah.
didn't play
Yeah.
C, A minor, F, G. They played
Yeah.
some
Absolutely.
very very, yeah. I mean, for a song like Yesterday, for instance, if you look at the
Mhm.
chord arrangements, it
Yeah.
was so rich in those days, and we always took it up as a challenge that this is
Mm-hmm.
what we must attack. This is what we must play. This is how we are to play it.
Right.
And so
Right.
hours and hours and hours were spent, learning
Yeah.
on the guitar, I mean, the Beatles songs, because they're technically
Mm-hmm.
difficult. The Rolling
Right.
Stones,
Right.
we would play also a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
technically less difficult. Uh,
Less
then
difficult.
came then came the four-part harmonies by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, which
Okay.
which
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which we kind of uh, we kind of took to that, like, it was like worshiping them, because
Uh-huh.
the four-part harmonies were so very good, incredibly
Mm-hmm.
good. So I mean,
Wow.
these were some of the bands, some of the groups and some of the instrumentalists that we would
Yeah.
emulate. Of course, having said
Yeah.
that, I'll also say that we also did a lot of compositions at the time of
Mm-hmm.
instrumentals and songs. Unfortunately, uh, because there was no recording facilities in those days, so we could just
Right.
record.
Right.
The
Right.
ones that we played on TV, that they
Mm-hmm.
must have recorded, but that was in 65 and 67 or 68. And so I don't know,
Uh-huh.
maybe, yeah. But I still remember, I mean, we played one piece on TV by the name of Peace Pipe, which,
Okay.
which the TV authorities used to use even, after we finished playing, because I think there were some
Mm-hmm.
copyright issues with the shadows, etc. So therefore, they would rather have played,
Okay.
our instrumentation of that. And so for years and
Ah.
years,
Okay.
Peace Pipe, that you heard on the TV was actually played
Yeah.
by the Lightnings.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So, Dada, how was the experience of the recording? Man, that was probably the first the time the band went in for a recording, like both TV and audio and stuff. How was that experience? It was just a one shot ago, just go and play, and that's it. Like,
Yeah,
do you remember?
I like to. I'm reminded. There's a very famous author by the name of Malcolm Gladwell, and Gladwell is very famous for having written some best-selling books by the name. One was Tipping Point, one was called David and Goliath, and so one of the things he said in one of his books is that if you have 10,000 hours of experience in anything, you can become an expert at that. And he always used the case of the Beatles. The Beatles used to play,
Mm,
at the Star Club in Hamburg every night for some years, and
mhm,
so he calculated they must have played more than 10,000 hours, you know,
uh-huh,
I
uh-huh,
mean, of their music. And so when the Beatles went on stage or they went into the recording studio with those songs, they could close their
mhm,
eyes and play. You know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
used to play 8 hours a day for 5 6 days a week, and so I mean, whenever we went into a studio, which was either Radio Chittagong, or
Mm-hmm.
Radio Dhaka, or
Yeah.
Dhaka TV, we really
Yeah.
didn't have to do too many takes. I mean, one or two takes perhaps, and that also perhaps because the engineers want some kind of microphone changes
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
alterations. So I have to say that yeah, I mean the sound engineers liked us because they didn't have to spend too much time with us. So we're quite pleased with that.
ওকে। দাদা, এই যেহেতু লাইভের প্রশ্নে চলে আসতেছি, রেকর্ডিং জানলাম, দাদা লাইভের ব্যাপারে একটু জানতে চাই। সেটা হচ্ছে ইউ গাইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি ওই সময় টুয়ার্ড আউট অফ দ্য কান্ট্রি। একটু যদি একটু যদি বলতেন হোয়াট হ্যাপেন্ড দেন, মানে কি হয়েছিল?
Yeah. Well, before that, I have to say that
জি,
we received our new equipment in 1968. From
জি,
68 until early 71, we were on the road. I mean, we used to play the usual clubs,
হুম, হুম,
dances, variety shows, some small concerts, etc. So that used to go on.
জি,
After Bangladesh liberated, after Bangladesh was liberated,
জি,
we we thought to ourselves that there's something that we can do for our country as musicians, and so we had two very dear friends. One was Bobby Khan, and the other was Rafi Ali, and so yeah, I didn't mention. So before that, we had another member that came in our band as a manager because we realized that we needed a manager, who would have to meet prospects as well as sign agreements, etc. And so Shakil's older
ওকে,
brother Saqib, who was also a very dear friend of ours, he joined as our manager, and so that was our first manager. And then in 1972, Bongo Bandhu had announced uh, a, a prime minister's relief fund because of the huge tragedy that we had come out. People, hungry people dying, etc.
জি,
And so, if you remember, the Bangladesh concert by George Harrison
জি,
was also staged in 1971, and the money came to UNICEF, through UNICEF, to Bangladesh. And so we thought to ourselves that surely we can do something like that. And that was a huge inspiration for us. So in 1972, early 72, I think in February, two of our very dear friends in Chittagong, Bobby
জি,
Khan and Rafi Ali, uh,
হুম, হুম,
were, I mean, we used to hang around, all the time together. And so we spoke with them, and Bobby Khan's sister's husband was Mr. M.R. Siddiqui, who was Minister of Commerce at the time. And
ওকে,
so we suggested, why don't we do something for the Prime Minister's Relief Fund? And so Bobby Khan and Rafi Ali, they got an appointment with Bangabandhu, and
হুম,
so he gave them an appointment. And so I'm not going to the details because
জি,
it was quite a story. However, Bangabandhu met them and asked them, and they said that
আ,
we wanted to do a tour of India with our band, the Lightnings. We'll call it the Bangladesh concert, and whatever
হুম,
money we raise, we'll donate to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund. And so
ও,
Bangabandhu was very happy. He called his
রাইট,
tenor, who was a Christian man by the name of Rodrigues, and he
ওকে,
requested Rodrigues to talk to us. And so Bobby and Rafi went with him and told him what we wanted, and he did up a letter on his typewriter,
আহা,
and he
ওকে,
read it to Bobby and Rafi, and then they were quite pleased with that. And so then they
আহা,
brought it to Bangabandhu, and Bangabandhu signed it.
ওকে,
And so we took the letter, and the first concert with that we did in Chittagong
আ,
at the Scholastics Convent, which was
হুম, হুম,
which is sold out. And I have to
হুম,
say,
হুম,
I mean, I it's it's uh, it's quite I mean, feel happy to recall that there was a
হুম,
girls'
হুম,
school, and the whole hall was filled with girls. Must have been more than
রাইট,
1,000 girls, and
হুম, হুম,
because they were also used to it was the Beatles era, so each time we
রাইট,
started singing Beatles song, they used to pull their hair, scream, and go crazy.
স্ক্রিন, ওকে,
it was such a thrill, it was so nice.
Mhm.
And then the second concert we played was at St. Placid School, our school hall, for the
Okay.
school band,
Okay.
And the third concert we played was at Hotel Purbani, and
Acha.
perhaps you must have heard of it. There was, while we were playing Black Magic Woman,
Hmm.
uh, there was a huge bomb blast that went off,
Yeah,
and
I've
so
heard that. I've heard that story. I've heard the story. Gee, 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 gee.
and so we had to call off the show. Fortunately,
Right,
none were
right.
injured because whoever planted that bomb must have thought that since we are musicians, they'll go easy on us, So nobody was injured, and I think we all came out of it shaken, but all right, yeah.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
then we traveled to Kolkata, and
Acha.
we actually took that letter to then Mr. Anwarul Karim Chaudhary, who was the acting head of mission, Kolkata
Okay.
mission. And so he then wrote us a letter on the back of Bangabandhu's letter, addressed to all
Hmm.
the authorities in Kolkata, the police, and the governor.
Right.
No, a letter to Governor A.L. Dias was written by
Hmm.
Bangabandhu directly, and Bobby Khan and Rafi Ali, they went and met the governor, and he actually instructed all the authorities to give us a helping hand in making our show a success. And
Wow.
so then, excuse me, we booked the
Yeah.
Kalamandir for 2 days, for two
Okay.
nights actually, and so we on the first night Ugly Phases was the opening band, and
Okay.
then we were the band after. And the second day there was the Calcutta band by the name of Great Bear, and Nandan Bakchi was the
Okay.
drummer of Great Bear.
Oh,
Nandan
wow. Wow. Yeah.
still plays drums, as you know. So the
Kamal Bhai was
brochure that
telling me about it. Yes. Yes.
yeah. So the brochure that we did is in the pictures, but I'll show you a copy of the brochure here right now.
Oh, you still have it. Oh, I
I
thought
still
it's just a picture. You still have it.
No, no, no.
Wow.
I
Wow.
still have the
Wow.
brochure, and
Wow.
and
Wow.
as you can
Wow.
see,
Wow.
if you go inside, there's a lot
Right.
of
Right.
information here. I mean,
Right. Right.
all the bands were mentioned, and
Wow.
the players were
Mhm,
mentioned.
mhm, mhm,
So that was like
mhm.
a kind of a memorable thing for us.
Wow.
Unfortunately for us, we
Wow.
were meant to play in Kolkata, uh, Mumbai, Delhi, and Chennai. But in
Right.
uh, in Kolkata, Bobby Khan got injured. He had a
Uh-huh.
nail go through the soles of his feet, and he
Okay.
had to be hospitalized. And so we had to cut short our tour and then come back to
Okay.
Dhaka. But
Wow.
we found out two things from that concert. One was that definitely the Lightnings were the best band in Bengal because
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
we could see the quality of the best band in Kolkata.
Right. Right.
And also the only band that was doing four-part harmonies was the Lightnings.
Hmm.
There was really nobody doing
Okay.
four-part
Okay.
harmonies. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow.
the good
Man,
experience also was at the time we got to meet a lot of the Indian musicians. Usha
right.
Uthup, who was then called
Acha.
Usha Iyer. Before she got
Uh-huh.
married, she was Usha Iyer.
Okay.
Used to
Okay.
used to sing at Tinkas.
Uh-huh.
Then there was a pianist. I can't remember his name now. Yeah. Anyway, he plays in Bombay now. The top pianist in India. And there was
Mm-hmm.
Pam Crane, the singer. Pam Crane used to do a very mean
I've
Janis
heard her name.
Joplin.
Yeah,
I
I've
still
heard her
remember
name.
try a little bit harder. That one
Uh-huh.
she was just like Janis Joplin, and we used to just
Okay.
go and
Okay.
gawk at her. Yeah, Louis Banks. Louis Banks was the name
Louis
of the
Banks.
pianist. Louis Banks.
Okay, the great Louis Banks. The
We were
great
very
Louis
lucky,
Banks. Yeah.
we got to meet. So there was a lot of cross fertilization, music cross
Hmm.
fertilization, with them and
Right.
us,
Right.
and very happy to be there, play with them, have our concerts. And at the end of the day,
Right.
we felt that we had done something for the newborn Bangladesh, and we are proud to be able to contribute. Something with our music. So that was a great, good feeling for us.
Yeah, I just at this point I wanna just tell my audience, Jay, uh, talk about fundraising, talk about doing it for the country. It didn't start yesterday. It started back in 1971 and 72. So, uh, they had they had that thought and they thought of doing this and they just did it. So what, amazing, amazing, amazing. Uh, Dada, thank you very much. You're sharing your experiences with us. We're getting to know so many things. At this point, দাদা আমি অনেক অনেক comments আসছে একটু যদি, if you allow me, I would like to go and read out a couple of comments. Okay, Ghazian Ahmed Shubro bhai comments almost in every show. Dada Shubro bhai says salute to the legend.
Salute.
Okay, Riyad Sarwar, salute sir. Riyad is from our great band LRB.
Salute.
Okay, Shahidul Huda bhai just sent a text, said, hi Neo, glad to see you and listening.
Oh, thanks very much, Aidul.
Uh, Joy Bhai, another the founder drummer of LRB, says big shout out to the way all the way from UK to the legendary drummer Neo sir and Sayyid Zia Rahman Turjo Bhai. Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, Joy.
Mr. Munir Chaudhuri says great to hear lots of historical stories. Okay, Mr. Jayanta Chakraborty says legend Neoda.
Hello, how are you? Greetings.
Okay, Mr. Anis A. Khan says a pathfinder and standard bearer of band music in the country. I enjoyed their shows as a child. Wow, so you've got an audience here who used to see you guys play when you were a child. Mashallah.
Anis is like a brother, just retired as managing director of Mutual Trust Bank.
Okay,
We've been,
okay.
yeah, we've known each other for 50, 60 years.
Wow.
From
So
Chittagong.
nice of you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
went to
for
the
watching
same
this
school.
show.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Let's see, what do we have? Do we have any more comments? Okay, Dada, at this point, Amina, I want to go back and look at some of pictures, some of the historical
Before that,
pictures of light.
I'd like
Gee,
to,
please,
I'd like to mention a few names for,
please,
to
please.
whom we are grateful. Of course, my father and my mother,
Gee,
Shakil's parents, great people, wonderful people.
gee.
Uh, and to my teachers, there was uh, my piano accordion teacher, Brother Hamel. He was
Mm-hmm.
Canadian and he was the principal of our school. He was my teacher. Mr. A.S. Mondal, he's dead now. He taught Noel how to play guitar.
Wow.
There was Amal Mitro who taught Shakil how to play guitar, and
Mm-hmm.
people who helped us along the way. Uh, all my siblings are a huge help to us. And incidentally, Norman,
Yeah.
they had a band called Lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
There's Norman on drums, a very good drummer. Niblet on keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
Farooq on guitar, and they also had a bass guitar player. I'll think of his name. Yeah. So I just wanted to,
Yeah.
remember all these people. I mean, when I, talk to you, most grateful for their help and inspiration.
Dada, just ছোট্ট করে, there's a comment from Mr. Navin Mendez Mathur. So we're so proud of you, Baba.
That's my daughter. She lives in Toronto. Hi,
Okay,
Naveen.
okay.
How are
Okay,
you and
sorry.
Vishal?
Oh,
Yeah,
she's
she and her
watching. Nice.
husband is Vishal. Hi,
Okay.
Vishal. Hi, Naveen. And also my
Okay.
wife. Oh, I forgot to mention my wife.
Gee,
She's been like my pillar. I mean, without her, I could have done nothing. She is just the greatest person on earth. You know her. You met her.
mashallah. Yes, I know her. I know her.
Yeah.
Please
So
give my regards to her.
I can't thank her enough. She's been like a pillar for me. Wonderful.
Hmm. Wow, wow, wow. So, Dada, can we go to the pictures now? If you
Yes, by all means. Why not?
okay. So, guys at the backstage, let's go to the pictures and let's see some. Okay, Dada, at this point, I'm going to ask you some questions about these pictures. So, Dada, this is
Yeah,
the Pakistani drum kit. This is the one
yeah,
with
but
the
but
big
there's
bass
the
drum.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the Pakistani drum kit. On the
জি,
right is me on piano accordion. Then there is there is Noel on electric Hawaiian
all
guitar. There is Jamil
right,
on drums, Shakil
right.
on acoustic Hawaiian guitar, and Farid on teacher's
And
bass.
our
You
yes,
can
our
see a
great
part of
Farid
the
bhai.
teacher.
জি দাদা, এই পিকচারটা দেখেই আমার I had a question যে মানে what is that? I mean that's not a double bass and
No, that's a you
so
see. You can see the
now
teachers. You can see the
right.
teachers at the
Yes,
bottom,
yes,
and then you can see like a staff, and
right.
then and Farid is plucking on the twine, the twine. And so what
Mm-hmm.
happens is the teachers, because of this white space inside,
Right.
it creates it creates like a speaker. It has a speaker effect, and so you get a boom boom sound on that.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, and as you
Wow.
tighten as you pull the rod,
Right.
the note goes high or low.
High, low, low. Wow. মানে মানে লাভ ফর মিউজিক দিস প্রুভস দ্য লাভ ফর মিউজিক মানে ইনস্ট্রুমেন্ট নাই তো কি হয়েছে বানায় বাজায় ফেলবো আর কি। মানে দ্যাট
And
ওয়াজ দ্য স্পিরিট
behind me, you
জি
can see that radio, our amp,
দ্যাট
that
রেডিও
radio
ইয়েস
I'm talking about.
ইয়েস ওকে
It's a
দ্যাটস এ
huge
বিগ
transistor
রেডিও
radio. Yeah,
জি
and you
বিগ
can see the
রেডিও
symbol on the drums. It used to hang from the
রাইট
stand,
রাইট রাইট
and
মাউন্টেড অন
and
দ্য
it
বেস ড্রাম
yeah, and just on top of the snare, you in the picture, that's a wood block. When you play, especially when you play cha
রাইট
cha cha music,
চা 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 ইয়েস
it's like a Latin sound. You play on the wood block.
রাইট রাইট okay wow this is a historical picture I mean wow, I'm speechless. Okay, let's go to the next picture and see.
Okay, so
Okay,
this we have a change. We have an addition. We have Francis who's playing percussion. He used to play maracas and castanet, and he was also
acha.
our roadie. And
Okay,
this, this is the first transformation also in the band. Farid, you can see, is with an electric guitar, where he had
right,
tuned
right,
all the first four strings into bass string. Then there's Noel, then there's Jamil on
right,
drums, Francis who just
right,
joined, Shakil on acoustic Hawaiian guitar, and me on piano accordion. And those days,
right.
we used to always dress like this when we would play for dances, etc.
Yes.
We used to always dress like this. It was kind of formal. These dances
Mm-hmm.
were formal, and so
Gee,
we also used to dress up formally. It was expected that you dress up formally.
you dress up formally, and the band looks good. Looked good. I mean, very polished and very uh, tidy.
Actually, this is our garden on the first floor in our
acha,
house, and
acha.
when this was the first time we played was here on
Mm-hmm.
this place. My father had a house party with all his friends
Acha.
from office, and
Okay.
family friends, and so that's where we played, I mean, the large veranda in front where all the
Mm-hmm.
drinks and food was served. So this really
Right.
was one of the first concerts that we played.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to the next picture.
Okay,
Okay, so
this is
by this time you got the equipments, the
yeah,
new.
this is post 1968. So by then
Acha,
we had our new
he
equipment. You can see these two are Hofners. That's
right,
Noel. That's Shakil. That's me. Uh, you
and
can see
Farid bhai,
I have a 22-inch bass drum with the lightning
right,
ritual, and
right.
there's Farid there, and those two amps were good enough
He,
for the whole band to play for 200-300 people. They're such good and
hmm
powerful amps.
hmm Wow, 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 wow.
And we
Amazing,
used to also
amazing.
sing. We used to do vocals to that also. We had we had
Acha,
we had we had these bare dynamic microphones, and we plugged them into
okay,
those amps. Those two amps took everything before we got our PA system.
okay, okay, okay. Wow, wow. Just simply wow. Okay,
Thank
let's
you.
see. Taরপরে. Okay, this is another picture from a gig. Okay, let's see another picture. দাদা এই পিকচারটা সম্বন্ধে একটু যদি কিছু বলতেন।
Okay,
Where was this? Do you remember?
this was in the Chittagong Club. The earlier
Acha.
one was also in the Chittagong Club swimming pool, but this was in the
Okay,
Chittagong Club upstairs in the ballroom.
in the ballroom. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Let's see the next
So you can
picture.
see
What
the
is
setup was different because we wanted the
different? Yes.
sound of the two amps to come out, in one place, and the drums we from then onwards we used to separate the drums like that.
Okay. 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 So by separating from the source, একদম
Yeah,
manually,
yeah, yeah,
manually.
yeah, yeah. No mics then.
No mics. No mics.
Mm. But
Okay.
you can see I had a crash on my, on my. Uh, so the on the right is the crash, on the left was the ride, and you can
Right.
see, I mean, the cymbal hi hats,
Mm-hmm.
the high,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Zildjian hi hats, and you can see the bass tom
Visuals in.
also, and you can
Right.
see
Right.
the two toms, the mounted toms, exact like
Yeah.
Ringo Starr drum set, same
Just
color,
like it. Yes. Absolutely.
same
Absolutely.
color.
We're gonna really have a look at some pictures of the kit itself. And এরপরে আমি একটা একটা ছোট্ট ইনফরমেশন দিব সবাইকে। সেটার জন্য আরেকটা যখন দিব তখন আমি আপনার কাছে একটু মাফ চেয়ে নিব। তো লেটস সি তারপরে কি কি আছে? Oh, this is
So
an
this
amazing
was
picture.
this was the publicity picture. This place is the
Okay.
Court Hill in Shillong. The Court Hill
Okay.
is quite well known, is a landmark, and so we
জি,
went there. We went there to take out some publicity pictures, and
আচ্ছা।
so this we used for our various, when we played for any dances or for
হুম,
any
হুম।
concerts, etc. These pictures we used.
Wow,
It's
nice
quite
picture.
like, I mean the Beatles used to do pictures like that, where
Like this, yes.
they used to do goofy things, so we are kind of influenced by it. Actually most of the bands used to do these kind of pictures.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow, wow. Okay, let's see তারপরে কি আছে আমাদের কাছে। Okay,
Oh, that's most probably at the Chambeli room. That's
আচ্ছা।
me. See, we used to all sing, so
হুম,
therefore,
হুম,
that
হুম,
was
হুম।
me playing and singing. So I used to do some solo vocals too, of course, with
Right.
harmonies from the rest of the band. And
Okay.
you can see
Well,
that
আমি
that guitar on the right is actually
right,
Farid's violin bass. Then
right.
he got a violin bass.
Mhm.
I mean the Beatles violin bass, which
Right.
kind of completed the Beatles, I mean, instrumentation for us.
হুম, 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 হুম। Well, আমি জাস্ট এখানে just to all our viewers যারা I just want to say one thing সেটা হচ্ছে just look at how Nyoda has the snare mounted.
Yeah,
একদম
yeah,
একদম the traditional grip এর জন্য this is the position. Okay,
yeah,
and মানে it just shows যে how much you had control over your instrument back then. I mean, that angle just says it all. আর
yeah, yeah.
কিছু বলার নাই, কিছু বলার
Mm.
নাই।
So especially when
uh,
especially when you're playing rolls, you get great
yes,
rolls on that, and also if you're moving from drums to drum, because I mean,
yes.
I play all four drums. I don't only play the snare,
Mhm.
and so to move
Right,
from drum to drum, your snare has to be at that angle, so you can move very
right.
fast. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's go to the next picture.
Oh, this is at a party,
Okay.
so also, I mean, around the same time. But you can see, even in a house
Mhm.
party, we're
Yeah,
quite formally dressed. I mean, Farid has a full suit,
right,
and Shaki's got a vest, and I had a
right.
turtleneck, and Noel
Mhm.
has got something like that also. So,
Uh-huh.
we were. I mean, in those days, I mean, everybody was quite neatly presented. So not only was the
Yeah.
music very precision, but
Mhm.
also the look, the dressing was all very quite tight actually.
Quite tight, quite tight. Very nice, very nice. Okay, wow, wow. Uh, let's see তারপরে কি আছে আমাদের কাছে।
Okay, this was a fashion
Okay,
show. This was a fashion
আচ্ছা।
show in Chittagong,
Mhm.
and that's Shakil on keyboards. He used to play.
Right.
I mean, Shakil was just extremely talented. He used to play
Mhm.
lead guitar, rhythm guitar, keyboards, and he used to sing. Uh, uh, I've never heard anybody sing better Bob Dylan than Shakil. He really
Wow.
James Taylor, Bob Dylan.
Mhm.
Ballad kind of songs. Shakil was really the master of that. And
Wow.
so
Wow.
this was the lady is Razia Rahim. She was a fashion designer, and so they took
Acha.
the whole team to Chittagong, and so
Acha.
it was a dance, and in the middle of the dance, they gave an hour for this fashion. So we were the band for that.
For that. Okay. Wow. 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 So guys, talk about multi instrumentalists on stage. Okay. আজকে আমরা যারাই একটু শো অফ করি, this is the real picture to be showed off. I mean, it's of course appreciated, but there were people doing it long time back. We just didn't know it. Now we do.
There was a very famous cabaret dancer in Karachi by the name of Princess Amina, and
Uh-huh.
she was big, big, big in those days. She used to dance at the
Mhm.
Metropole Hotel, and so she
Okay.
she was invited by the Chittagong Club, and so we
Okay.
backed her up. And I mean, cabaret dancing is mainly about drums, and so
Right.
for half an hour you have to do a solo,
Solo.
a drum session,
Mhm.
and she would
Mhm.
she would she would kind of give you the beats that you had to play one after another, because she would change her
Ah,
her dance patterns and her
right.
movements. You see, so
Our
you
movement.
had to
Right.
play the beats, or the pieces that
Mhm.
she gave you, and so for nearly half an hour,
Right.
single solo, you had to play
Mm-hmm.
with Princess Abina, and so that was quite an experience.
Quite an experience. Wow. 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 A great informations, দাদা, এগুলো জানতাম না মানে। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ ফর বিং উইথ আস টুনাইট।
Thank you for having me.
ওকে, লেটস সি তারপরে কি আছে। ওকে,
This is the famous
দিস
Chambeli
পিকচার।
room. This is
ওকে,
intercontinental.
ওকে,
So
ওকে।
we were the first Bangladeshi band to play in the
হুম।
Chambeli room, because before
আচ্ছা।
us there were these foreigners. There was a British band and there were some Italian
হুম,
bands,
হুম, হুম।
and so when they, you know, once we started playing, they didn't bring foreign bands anymore. So
আচ্ছা।
this was one of the earlier pictures in the Chambeli room, and
ওকে।
we played for years in the Chambeli room, in the supper club, both for the go-go's as well as for the supper club. So in the day, we were playing on Sundays. We were playing,
ঠিক।
for the younger people, and at night we
হুম,
were
হুম।
playing for the dinner crowd.
The general crowd.
So
Wow.
total radical change of music styles. In the day it was something else.
Right.
At night it was
Completely
kind of
different.
ballroom down. Yeah, that's right.
Right. Right. Wow. Awesome. 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 Awesome informations. Awesome. Awesome facts that we're getting out. তারপরে কি আছে? Let's see.
Oh, this was also a
Okay.
publicity picture, that we used to use when, for the Intercon. I mean, use this, on their, when you walked
Okay.
into, I mean, through the doors, they had
Right.
like
Right.
the poster there, which said,
Right.
the lightning, band in attendance. So
Like that, this picture is so Beatles. I mean, so
yes,
Beatles
yes, yes,
in
absolutely,
in every way.
absolutely.
Wow. Okay, let's see. তারপরে কি আছে?
Yeah, also the same
Okay.
publicity at the same time, we
Publicity.
did this because so they're all for publicity
Okay.
purposes.
Nice. 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 তারপর?
I think we use this for our India concert.
Okay. Okay. I think same time picture এটাও।
Huh, same time.
Okay.
These are
Okay.
studio
So
pictures,
these
yeah.
pictures, these were used for the India tour and that
Yeah, these
fundraising
were
concert.
publicity pictures. We used them for India
Okay.
tour as well as for Intercon. Then Purbani
Okay.
Hotel. We used to play at the Prachi Hotel. We used to play at the
আচ্ছা।
Shabag. We were the only band playing at the Shabag Hotel. And of course,
আচ্ছা।
there were two other bands that came in and played in Shabag. One was called the Bugs from Karachi,
আচ্ছা।
an
Okay.
outstanding band. I mean, they played Beatles like, as if you closed your eyes,
Mm.
you would think that this is the Beatles playing in front of you.
Wow.
And then there was another band called the Four Thoughts, who used to play instrumental, and
আচ্ছা।
they had one big nationally popular piece called that Maskalandar. They played that instrumental, I mean, lead on
আচ্ছা।
keyboard and backed up
Mm-hmm.
by guitar and drums. So that was the Four Thoughts.
Wow.
These two bands played at the at the Shabag also.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. Let's see তারপরে কি? আচ্ছা,
So
this is
this
the
is the
brochure
brochure
that জি।
for the Kolkata concert, for the India concert rather.
Okay. For the India concert. Okay. let's see তারপরে কি, I think we have couple of parts of the brochures.
So so this will show you, uh, this was the, I think the first two concerts, right, in Chittagong and Dhaka,
Right.
right?
G. G. This
Yeah,
is Chittagong and Dhaka.
yeah. Correct. So it shows the dates when we played.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, okay, it says the Bangladesh concert in aid of the Bangladesh Prime
Prime Minister's
Minister's
Relief Fund,
Relief
yeah.
Fund.
Yeah,
Yes.
produced by Bobby Khan and Rafiq Ali.
Bobby Conner, Relief. Wow. Wow. Great. Great. Okay, there's another part of the brochure.
I think the Bangla lyrics, no? Oh
Okay.
no,
জি একটা বাংলা লিরিক
Bangla,
ছিল এটা।
that was composed
একটু
for us, and we actually composed the song, uh, but unfortunately in those days, because there was no recording facilities, so we
জি
couldn't record anything.
ওকে ওকে
There was no.
ইটস এ পিটি। এই জিনিসগুলো যদি তখন রেকর্ডেড থাকতো আজকে আমাদের জন্য যে কত ভালো হতো। আই মিন
Yeah.
we could have we could have had a specimen of that era
Yeah.
for our ears.
And
আচ্ছা
we are missing
তারপরে
it most. You see, we are missing it most because, I mean, there were some things there that was worth worth keeping,
জি
for
জি
for
definitely
posterity's sake, which we are missing today.
because it's for us it's history, for us musicians it's history, honestly speaking, and
Yeah.
uh, if we could have preserved it would have been better. আচ্ছা তারপরে কি আছে দেখি। Okay, Dada, I love the way this is written. I mean, plectrum,
Yeah.
lead, rhythm bass, skins, hotbox manager. মানে
Yeah.
এই আইডিয়াস গুলা কি দাদা তখন was it just নিজেদের থেকেই আসছে নাকি আহ, মানে
You
কার
see,
মাথা থেকে
Rafi,
আসলো এগুলো?
yeah, Rafi Ali, he used to live in
আচ্ছা,
England, you see. And so,
ওকে,
Rafi came for a year to spend with his father in Chittagong. His father was the head of a shipping company. And so,
আচ্ছা,
Rafi became our very dear friend. And so he had all these ideas, because he was
wow,
born and raised in London, I think. And so, you
আচ্ছা,
know, and so he had all these great ideas, way ahead of his time. And also, for a while, after 1968, we had an English keyboard player. His name was Ian Mellor. He used to play.
ওকে,
He used to teach in St. Placid's School with his British Voluntary Services Overseas (VSO),
আচ্ছা,
and
আচ্ছা,
and so he was. I mean, he used to. He joined our band and he used to play keyboards, and for things like Cream and Jimi Hendrix. Ian.
okay,
So
okay, okay,
Ian
okay.
Mellor was the one who really, he was a great influence for us because he
Mhm.
was a professional keyboard player. He was a trained keyboard player, and and he used to play classical. You see, so he was very very good, and there's much that we learned from him.
Wow. Wow. So nice, so
So
nice,
lots of
so nice.
ideas from England that came in also to us at the time.
Right, right. It was absolutely fresh, new, and worked. Worked.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Okay, তারপরে কি আছে? Let's see. Okay, this is a piece of history. This document is
Yeah.
actually a piece of history. দাদা এইটাই সেই লেটারটা, right?
This was the letter that Mr. Anwarul Karim Chaudhary sent out
Right.
to the authorities in Kolkata after following receipt of Bangabandhu's letter.
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা.
And so,
Wow.
Bobby Khan and Rafi Ali, wherever, they went to the police or to the customs,
Mm-hmm.
when we
Mm-hmm.
were sending all our equipment to Kolkata.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so this was the letter that was showed, and, with this letter, things became just so easy, I mean,
Easy, easy.
there's no, yeah, permissions, etc., became so very easy.
Mm-hmm. দাদা একটু ছোট্ট করে জিজ্ঞেস করতে চাই এই পয়েন্টে যে did you carry all your equipments to Kolkata
Yes,
and back?
we took all our
আচ্ছা,
equipment, everything.
okay, okay,
So you
okay.
can imagine in Kolkata in those days when imports weren't allowed in India, when they saw our
Right.
equipment, when
Must
they
be
saw our
difficult.
equipment, this just blew their mind. So,
Mhm.
while we were practicing, on the second day,
Mm-hmm.
when Great Bear played with us, and we were
Mm-hmm.
we were doing our sound check, Nandan Bakshi comes to me,
Right.
and he stands for a while, and then he says, "Can I have a few flicks after you finish, please?" And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
then he played. After he played the Ludwig set, you could see that he was, he was in heaven. And
Wow.
and the
Wow.
cymbals,
Wow.
whereas they were playing Indian drums at the time. So
Right.
playing Zildjian cymbals and a Ludwig drum set,
Right.
it made it made Nandan Bakchi's day. He was really
Yeah.
very pleased with that.
What a great way to make friends
Yeah,
among
absolutely,
musicians.
absolutely,
What a great way to make friends. Uh,
absolutely.
okay, তারপরে আরেকটা ডকুমেন্ট আছে আই থিঙ্ক। দাদা এটা নিয়ে আপনি একটু যদি প্লিজ একটু বলেন।
Oh, this my mother, my mother who was a very cultural person. In
জি।
fact, I had requested her before, once we were ready to go for our India concert, I requested her to write lyrics for a song for us. And so
ওয়াও,
she wrote this
ওয়াও।
for us. And I've had this since 1972, so last 50 years
জি।
nearly. I've kept this. And we actually composed this into a song and sang a song. And so,
হুম,
very fond memories about these lyrics written by my mother.
ওয়াও,
She
ওয়াও।
was really, she
So
was really
touching,
fantastic
so
person.
touching, so
Yeah,
touching,
yeah,
so touching.
yeah. And everybody in the
মাশাআল্লাহ।
band used to kind of look upon her as mother.
হুম,
She was
হুম,
so
হুম,
good.
হুম, হুম।
She was soft, gentle, loving.
Right, right, মাশাআল্লাহ। ওকে, তারপরে দেখি what do we have?
Oh, that's
Okay,
that's that's
brother,
me
tell
with
us who is this gentleman?
this is John Paul Jones, bassist from Led Zeppelin.
All right, where did you meet him, দাদা?
This is in
একটু যদি
Frankfurt.
বলতেন।
We
Right?
we are distributors for Fender. So
আচ্ছা,
at the Fender, there's a small little club-like place, at the Frankfurt Music Fair, where
আচ্ছা,
all the Fender artists come there for a
okay.
drink or something. So the day I went, John Paul Jones was there. We sat down and had a
Wow.
long chat, and
Uh-huh.
my God, this is Led Zeppelin. Can you imagine?
This is Led Zeppelin. This is absolutely Led Zeppelin. I mean,
Incredible. I can't believe it myself sometimes.
what a great picture. What an
Yeah, absolutely.
amazing picture. Okay,
Absolutely.
let's see তারপরে কি আছে?
This is Jeff Beck.
Wow. Wow.
Jeff Beck, funny,
Wow.
this is really not. This is really a cute incident. I mean, the head of sales for Fender,
জি,
he tells me one day. He says, you have to attend our dinner this evening. We are having our lifetime achievement award dinner, so you have to come. And
okay.
I'm thinking to myself, why does he want me? So anyway,
Uh-huh.
so I was very happy. So me and my brother Niblet, the two of us,
Mm-hmm.
we go
জি,
there, and so they put us in, on the center table, and
আচ্ছা,
it's becoming even more curious now. Why are they
mhm,
giving us so much of importance? Then we
right.
found out Jeff Beck was going to receive the Fender Lifetime Achievement Award, and his girlfriend was with him, and she was into Eastern
Uh-huh.
philosophy. She was into Eastern philosophy, and
Oh,
so
okay, okay.
because to make Jeff happy, they wanted that
Right.
somebody keeps her busy, talks Eastern philosophy. So they thought I looked
Awesome.
the part. They thought I looked the part, and so they asked me to sit with Jeff
Okay.
Beck to talk of Eastern philosophy
Wow.
to his girlfriend. But
Wow.
I mean, this is
Wow.
Jeff Beck. This is
This is Jeff
incredible.
Beck.
So we had two
This
hours, sitting with Jeff Beck, and that's Niblet taking that picture.
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা। Okay, okay, okay. Wow, wow. What an amazing
Yeah,
story.
incredible.
What a great picture. Okay, let's see তারপরে।
This is Mary Wilson of the Supremes. Diana Ross and the
Ah,
Supremes.
right,
Yeah,
right,
so
right,
she
right.
came to Dhaka and she played at the U.S. ambassador's residence and later
আচ্ছা,
on at Usmani. And so for
আচ্ছা।
lunch, she sang and played. And so the ambassador had invited us, Dan Mozina.
Ah,
No, that was the one before him. So
okay.
so he had invited us, and so she was, so we had a long chat, and then she was very pleased,
Uh-huh.
and so
Wow.
we took out this picture, which my wife didn't think it was all that great.
Okay. Nice memories. Nice memories. Uh,
Yeah.
okay. Uh, let's see. Okay, Dada,
So,
you're still at it,
every Christmas, or nearly every Christmas, we have a Christmas party at the Serena
right?
Hotel, and so
Gee,
this is, that's I think Lubna on vocals and Imran
acha,
on guitar, and
right,
that's me on drums. So, once,
right.
a couple of times a
Let's
year, we
party.
jam.
Aha, aha, aha. Wow, wow. Still have the spirit, but apni, but it's great. It's great.
Yeah,
It's like it shows your love for music, and uh, মানে ওইটাই মানে it's all in the heart. It's all in the heart. It's all in the heart.
yeah.
Let's see তারপরে. Okay, this is an
That's a
amazing
close.
picture.
Yeah,
This is a
that's a
great
close up. Yeah.
picture. There's a closed up nice picture of you going at
Yep.
the drum kit.
Yeah.
Okay. এবার দাদা,
Oh, this is
the
the famous
most talked about picture of this
Yeah,
drum kit. And this
yeah.
is the drum kit that the same drum kit that you got back then and you still have it. I
I
mean,
still play it. I still have it.
I was fortunate enough to play it once and record
Really?
through it in Omni
Oh,
Gulshane. And
oh,
দাদা
wow.
এই কিটটা কি এখনো অমনিতে আছে?
আছে, এখনো আছে. Still very
Okay,
good.
so this is to all the drummers out there. If you really want to have a look at this kit, just go to Omni Music.
Yeah.
দাদা এটার জন্যই বলছিলাম মাফ চাই, মানে এখন মনে করেন অনেকে যা বলতে পারে যে আমি একটু এই কিটটা দেখতে চাই, তো এই জন্য আমি
Oh,
বলছিলাম
welcome,
তখন
man.
যে আমি
Very
মাফ
welcome.
করে দিব.
Very
So
welcome. You're always
this is
welcome.
still there,
Yeah,
exactly. This is how it is. It's been taken care of like a baby, I'm sure,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
আমি যখন প্রথমে এই কিটটা দেখলাম এবং যখন আমি আই অ্যাকচুয়ালি থট যে এটা আপনি পরে আরেকটা কিট কিনছেন, so that you wanted to have the kit, but আপনি যখন আমাকে বলছেন যে this is the same very kit that you got back in 68, I was blown away. I was blown away.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. 52
It
years
was,
now. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it shows আপনার passion towards your music
yeah,
and your instrument. It just
yeah,
shows. আমার আর কিছু বলার নাই. Okay,
yeah.
so that was the last picture.
Mm. Yeah.
ওকে দাদা, এবার আমি কিছু টিপিক্যালি মানে কিছু ছোট্ট কোয়েশ্চেন করব আপনাকে। সেটা হচ্ছে দাদা, what will be your advice uh, for us or the younger drummers out there?
Uh, you know, uh, I mean, I am, not only because we have a music business, but uh, music is something that I think about all the time. I mean, I play various instruments. I play piano, I play guitar, and I would always recommend for drummers to try and learn a second instrument. Learn a guitar. It's not so difficult. Especially you don't have to play a lead guitar, but at least learn the chords and try to
Yeah,
sing and play. It gives you a better perspective on how to play your instrument if you know how to play another instrument.
right.
So that's something that I would advise. The other thing is, in Bangladesh, mm, there is no formal training in music. You see. I mean, you may have heard of some of the greatest and most successful bands in the West, and they look like that they just sit down and play their instrument. But don't
Mhm.
be fooled. Most of them have been trained while they were young in school, etc. And so, formal training in music in the West is something that is quite common. You see.
Quite common.
Unfortunately for us, we don't have formal training in music here. So I would suggest, two things that drummers should do. One is every drummer should have a metronome, and drummers should practice with a metronome. Most of the time, drummers are playing, but they really don't know about their timing. You see, they think that they're doing fine, but once you have a metronome, you can be assured that you are playing to beat, because what the drummer plays is what the rest of the band follows. So if the drummer is not able to keep the beat, then however good the vocalists and the lead instruments are,
Mhm.
is not going to be the same quality uh, if the drummer is not keeping the beat properly. So first advice: buy a metronome. It's not very expensive, and metronomes are available everywhere. And whenever you practice, always use a metronome. Metronomes are critical for drummers or for any percussionists. So that's the first advice I'd give. The second advice is, because you don't have formal training in music in this country, so for drummers, I would suggest, seriously urge you to learn tabla. Learn tabla formally. And I will give you an incident which influenced me so very much. Uh,
Okay.
I speak about Norman. Norman is a tabla player, and he's a good drum player because he's a good tabla player.
Mhm.
Now, I'll give you an example of something that happened recently. When John
Okay.
McLaughlin came to play, his
Right.
drummer was a guy by the name of Ranjit Barot.
Mhm.
You know, and John
Okay.
McLaughlin, when he plays, most people listening to the music do not understand the timing of
Mhm.
John McLaughlin's music. John McLaughlin hardly plays a 4 by 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
John
Yeah.
McLaughlin plays to what sounds very simple. He's playing a 5
Mhm.
by 4 beat.
Mhm.
You see,
Mhm.
and I had a very serious musician, well-known musician sitting by me when we went to see the John McLaughlin concert. And I said,
Okay.
can you tell me the timing of this piece?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
believe you me, nearly until the end, he just couldn't tell me because he was trying 3 by 4 and 4 by 4, and it doesn't work. You see, so that's when about 3/4 down the line, I started counting. I said, now you count.
Mhm.
You know,
Right. Right.
so uh, if you play tabla, not only can you do 5 by 4, you know you can do very very complex timings. Now,
Mhm.
the incident I'm going to talk about is, there's a very famous jazz pianist by the name of Dave Brubeck, and his
Uh-huh.
drummer was somebody called Joe Morello. And Dave
Okay.
Brubeck has a very, very famous, if among the top 100 jazz albums ever created.
Mhm.
Dave Brubeck's "Time Out," is
Mhm.
the album to hear. And in that, he has a piece
Okay.
called "Take Five." You must have heard "Take Five."
Take five. Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so Dave Brubeck and his band, they were touring India on a State Department tour, sponsored by the
Uh-huh.
U.S. government. Now,
Right.
when he heard the local tabla players, he was
Okay.
absolutely awestruck because he could not
Mhm.
understand,
What's
what
going
they
on?
were playing, what's going
Right.
on. So Dave Brubeck
Mhm.
stayed back and he took tabla
Uh-huh.
lessons, and
Excellent.
he learned the various timings that was played on tablas, and he
Mhm.
went back and then composed "Take Five"
Take
on a
five.
5 by 4 timing. You see, so
Mhm. Wow.
it
Wow.
starts. The root is from here. Our music is very very rich music, and it's available right here. And I would seriously urge anybody who wants to play drums to learn
Okay.
tabla. So get a metronome and learn tabla.
Okay. Okay.
That will give you the grammar that you need to play drums.
Okay. Dada, any tips? Any tips for?
Tips, yeah, lots of tips. I mean, to get your to get your wrists, moving fast, to do fast rolls, which you need all the time. Rolls are like flicks. You have to do them in the fraction of a second. So your hands must be
Right.
very very fast. So the one thing you have to do is, you don't have to practice on drums all the time. When we were starting out, we were told that you take a cushion, a small cushion, you place a coin on it, and
Right.
you then you play on that coin.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever way you hold your stick, whether you want
Right.
to hold like this or like. So you
Mm-hmm.
you play on that coin. You target that coin and you play there, because the target is because every part of the snare or every part of the toms or the bass tom has a different sound.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
sound in the middle is different from the sound on the sides. You see,
Right. Yes.
so if
Yes.
you can play both tips of the sticks on a
Mm-hmm.
coin, then you're able to place your stick tips on any part of the drums that you want. Because like in tabla, In tabla, there is not one sound from one place. They get different sounds
Yep.
from different places.
Yes.
Same thing you can do for your drums if you if you know how to tune your drums. So play your drumsticks on a coin that you put in the middle of a cushion, and you disturb nobody, and you can do it for while you're sitting in the car, while you're sitting
Right.
in the office,
Right.
while anywhere, and that
Uh,
makes that kind of gives you the target spots. Then, of course, there are some regular exercises that you do with your hand. I mean, if you run, then you keep your calf muscles strong, which is always good for
mhm,
the hi-hats and the bass drum. You see, but there are some other popular exercises. I mean, this one is a very popular exercise.
mhm.
If you continue to do this, you'll find that the wrists are becoming flexible, especially when you're playing on the snare. This is very
Understand.
useful. You can do very quick
Right.
flicks on this. And
Right.
then this is the other one. This,
Mm-hmm.
although it's very useful for congas, etc., but for
Uh-huh.
drums also, you need this, especially if you're holding the sticks like this, you see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this one, if
Uh,
you're holding the sticks like that, and this one,
like
if
that.
you're holding the sticks like
Only
this,
the stick.
and
Right.
this one, especially when you're playing the cymbals, you need to have your wrist
Right.
flexible. So these three
Flexible.
drum exercises are very, very important for every drummer, regardless of age. I still do it,
Mm-hmm.
for 15 minutes a
Uh-huh.
day. I still do it, which is why
Wow.
when I play on Christmas Day, or when I
Yeah.
when I play with my diplomatic friends, when
Right.
we have the small little bands that we set up for three,
Ji.
4, 5, 6 months, that
Ji.
so when I'm on the drum set, I feel quite fit. I really don't
That's
feel
it.
that any of my parts are kind of jammed up. You see, so
Wow. Wow.
exercises. So number one, get a metronome. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
learn tabla. Number three, conduct these exercises regularly.
Ji. Dada, I can relate to that cushion and coin because I used to do it when I was young. I used to do it on a soda bottle because
Yeah,
the bottle can used to be
yeah,
very
yeah,
small. So I used to
yeah,
do
yeah.
I used to do
Absolutely,
it on a soda
absolutely.
bottle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
Um, Ji.
if you have, I mean, if you have access to books, there is this one. uh, I don't know if you can read that. Can
Ji.
you read that?
Yeah. Drums for the absolute beginners.
Yeah. So uh,
Ji.
if you want, I'll make a copy and I'll send this to you. And
Ji.
there are lots of lessons there. This is another one, and
Ah, okay. The ultimate beginner
these
drum
also have
bassist.
a CD in it. I've made
Yeah.
USBs of this. If anybody wants, I'll be happy
Ji.
to give them USBs free of charge. Just
Wow.
send me an email or go through you. And
Ji.
the
Thank
two
you so
very
much.
popular drum exercises that we learned when we were starting off, it's called
Mm-hmm.
the paradiddle exercise. So
Ji.
paradiddle means, yeah, paradiddle,
Diddle.
paradiddle,
Diddle. Ji.
paradiddle, paradiddle. So, and then
Ji.
the next one you do is called it's a paradiddle. It's a
Aha.
paradiddle. It's a
Diddle.
paradiddle. So, these two exercises are very, very important
Right.
for people who are drummers. Of course, the next thing I'll say is listen, listen, listen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen as much as you can. When we started playing, we had to play for we had to play for dances, and in those days, in addition to playing uh, soft ballroom music, slow music, we had to play
Mm-hmm.
cha cha cha, we had to play
Right.
rumba, we had to play
Right.
samba, and then we
Mm-hmm.
had to play rock for the young people, and then there
Right.
was a twist, you see. So we had to learn
Mm-hmm.
all of these things in order to in order to be able to play in a band in those days. You see,
Mm-hmm.
nowadays people are not listening to that, but uh, you know you can actually listen to people playing all the. You go to YouTube and you say cha cha cha,
Yes.
and it'll come out for you the beat.
Right.
So
Right.
so I mean these are things that go into somewhat semi-formal learning, and I mean, highly recommended. And of course,
Right.
there is no alternate for practice. You have to practice,
Mm-hmm.
practice, and practice. So listen,
Yes.
listen, and listen, and practice, practice, and practice.
Yes.
Yeah, these two things I would, I mean, some of the, talking about tabla, some of the, in addition to Ranjit Barot, I met a drummer,
Yes.
uh, I met a drummer in, at the Frankfurt Fair, and his
Mm-hmm.
name was Trilok Gurtu. Trilok Gurtu
Oh my God.
is the
He's
son of
amazing.
Shobha Gurtu, Shobha Gurtu, the
Uh,
famous classical singer. And,
yes.
had a long chat with Trilok and tabla.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I
Yeah.
mean, his drums came from, his mother's background as a classical singer. So
Yeah.
outstanding musicians because not only were they good in the beat, but also in perfect timing also.
Also. Okay. Wow. দাদা এই এই পয়েন্টে এসে আমি একটু আপনার কাছে একটু ইনফ্যাক্ট আমি সবাইকে বলতে চাই যে নিয়োদা ইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি হি ওনস অমনি মিউজিক। সো দাদা অমনি মিউজিকের হোয়াটস হ্যাপেনিং একটু যদি বলতেন, হোয়াটস নিউ,
Well,
হোয়াটস গোয়িং অন।
couple of things.
জি
One thing I have to say about drums is, I go to a lot of live concerts,
জি
and I notice that uh, that jara sound engineering করে, sound engineers really
জি
don't know how to mic drums. First of all,
হুম
they're not using the correct mics.
হুম হুম
So
হুম
we are distributors for Shure microphones, and Shure has very special drum mics. And
মাইক্স
and yeah, if you go on YouTube, go on Shure
জি
drum mics.
জি
They
হুম
recently they had a web seminar on miking drums and other percussion instruments. I
জি
would urge you to visit that site and learn
জি
how to not only which mics to use, but also how
হুম
to
হুম
place the drums. Some of the
রাইট
better sound engineers,
হুম
A.R. Rahman's sound engineer, Fali Damania,
জি
is the Shure engineer also, and he's the one who
হুম হুম
does the seminars. So
আচ্ছা
and they do practical demos. Some of the better
হুম
sound engineers and studio owners in Mumbai,
জি
are also taking those sessions.
ওয়েবিনার্স
So
জি
know what mic to use for what drums, and know how to place them.
জি
Our sound, I'm sorry, but
ভেরি
our
ইম্পর্টেন্ট
sound people, they don't have the formal training for all these
হুম
things.
হুম
So I would think that the drummer should know what are his strengths and where his microphone should be placed.
রাইট ভেরি
So
ইম্পর্টেন্ট
yeah,
ভেরি
so
ভেরি
I mean, in addition to YouTube, last year
জি
in partnership with the Goethe Institute, the German Culture Institute, we brought
ওকে
in a
ওকে
sound engineer for a full
জি
month, and he gave 2 courses of 2 weeks each to our sound
ওয়াও
engineers, starting from
ওয়াও
the basics, of sound engineering up to miking techniques. So
রাইট
so this is something that we do. In addition to that, whenever there's a foreign band visiting,
হুম
as
হুম
Bamba will tell you, in
জি
collaboration with Bamba as well as in collaboration with the Goethe Institute, we've
জি
had several workshops, of these international musicians who come and who come and play here. But at the same time, they take time to give us, to give us workshops and classes on how to play their instruments. Teach some tricks, some techniques, etc. So that's
ওয়াও
something that we plan to continue to do.
জি
What I'm really missing. I remember one year somebody had a band competition, and different bands had participated, and
রাইট
I think there were prizes given first, second, third prize, not only for the
রাইট
bands, for the instruments also. And I was the
ইয়েস ইয়েস
drums
ইয়েস
judge. I was the
আচ্ছা
judge for the drums here.
ওকে
So
ওকে ওয়াও
that's something that I think we should continue as a tradition, and I'll be happy to sponsor that. So maybe that's
ওয়াও
something, in addition to training, webinars.
জি
We also want to have, regular classes, as well as competitions where we can have young people come and showcase their talents every year. So I think we'll need the help of all you guys out there. I can't do it alone.
জি
So
নো নো
if you're with
অ্যাবসলিউটলি
me,
দাদা
if you're with me,
অ্যাবসলিউটলি absolutely. I will make a plan inshallah very soon, and I'll submit it to you for your approval.
wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, দাদা আর এছাড়াও তো we can get accessories and different accessories for drumming at Omni and everything. Everything is there, মানে just
So
like the old
I
days,
mean,
right?
a couple of things. One is
জি
we don't get proper sticks here. If we do, they're very expensive.
জি
We don't get proper drum heads here.
হুম,
If you
জি
do, they are very expensive. So you
হুম,
know, in China they say cheap things no good, good
no
things
good. জি
no cheap.
no, জি জি জি
So
জি
what I suggest is, if you want a good sound, you have to have
হুম,
good drum heads. You've got to have good sticks, and
জি
you have to have a good drum set. Now, drum sets are very expensive. We sell
হুম,
Yamaha drum sets for 1.5 lakh takas, and I know that that's not affordable for people. So we've got a very good, Italian company, and we want to start bringing in their drums, and hopefully we should be able to sell drums for 20, 30,000 takas for a
Hmm.
four-piece
Wow.
set with cymbals.
Okay.
So
Mm.
hopefully by the end of the year we should be able to have our first drum sets in there. So fingers crossed.
Oh, mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. Wow, that will be a
The other
great help for
the
all the
other
young
tip that I
drummers.
want to give to drummers is that
Ji.
mm, play soft. Don't play don't play loud, because when you play loud, you lose the craft of actually being able
Hmm.
to play a drum. The musicality is lost, you see, and also you really don't know how well you're playing if you're playing loud. So play soft.
Hmm.
It's easy to play loud, but it's not so easy to play soft. And use brushes. Don't use
Hmm.
sticks only. Use brushes also, especially for Bangla songs, which are soft ballads. Use brushes.
Hmm.
It doesn't need, it doesn't need hard hits on the snare, and it certainly doesn't need, a lot of cymbals clashing out there. Play with,
True.
if you're playing ballads, use brushes. Brushes are very, very good for Bangla songs, especially the softer songs. So, again, very important piece of advice: use brushes.
Use brushes. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Dada, Mane, for all these words, all these thoughts, and all these plans that you have. Mane, means a lot. I mean, if you can get to that point where a kid today can afford a drum kit for like 30, 40, whatever, Mane, ওই range, it's gonna be awesome because
Yeah,
ড্রামারদের মেইন ইয়াটাই থাকে এবং ওই স্টুডেন্ট লাইফে ওই একটাই স্ট্রাগল যে হাউ টু গেট
yeah,
দ্য মানি আউট অফ দ্য প্যারেন্টস
yeah,
পকেট. So
correct, yeah,
if that becomes affordable, there will be nothing like it.
yeah.
I'm sure this is going to be a great help to all the drumming community and to the whole industry rather.
Yeah, so been there, done that. So I know what the pain is for drummers. So therefore,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I I think I can provide the prescription and the solution. Uh,
Thank you so
and
much for your
yeah, I
thoughts.
was
Thank you
I was
so much.
telling you about listening. I mean, there are
Ji.
some drummers that our drummers should listen to if they really want to know drumming. I mean, I spend a lot of time even now, listening
Ji.
to drummers. I mean, I've seen some great drummers. I've seen Billy Cobham. Billy Cobham really used to play with Chick
Wow.
Corea, I think. Just
Ji.
outstanding drummer. Airto Morera, big drummer.
Mhm.
His wife
Mhm.
Flora Purim, big singer. So Airto Morera is a real
Right.
percussionist, drummer and
Mhm.
percussionist. Plays with all kinds
Ji.
of Latin percussions. Uh, I've had the good luck of seeing many lives. I've seen Santana in a small club in
Wow.
uh,
Wow.
in New York. Me and my friend Reza. We saw
Acha.
Santana in a club with 200 people, and we were sitting
Wow.
right in front. And his drummer used to be Graham Lear at the time. Great drummer,
Right.
and
Right. Graham
uh,
Lair.
timbales player Pete Escobedo. Pete Escobedo.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
is the
Wow.
father of Sheila E. Sheila E. was the
Uh-huh.
timbales
Uh-huh.
player for Prince. You know,
Prince. Yes. Yes.
yeah. And so I've seen Dizzy Gillespie, in live
Mm-hmm.
in Montreal. I've seen many outstanding, musicians. Tony Williams, who played for,
Uh-huh.
Return to
Uh-huh.
Forever. Uh,
Right. Right.
if you, Miles Davis, everybody knows about. Listen to Jimmy Cobb,
Mm-hmm.
his drummer, really an
Jimmy Cobb.
outstanding
Yes.
drummer. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then,
Right.
Buddy Rich, Grady
Very
Tate,
rich.
Max
Mm-hmm.
Roach, Billy Higgins, Art Blakey,
Mm-hmm.
Jack DeJohnette, Elvin Jones, and among the newer drummers, Ginger Baker, Mitch
Ginger
Mitchell, who
Baker.
played for Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. He's an
Stu,
amazing, awesome drummer. Wow.
awesome drummer.
Awesome.
Stuart Copeland of the Police,
Yes.
awesome drummer.
Ore bap re bap re
Awesome.
bap.
And
Mane
of
ore
course,
bap re
Ringo.
bap re. Yes, of course,
And
Ringo
of course,
Starr.
Ringo Starr. Ringo
Of
Starr,
course.
to me, is the neatest drummer. Was the neatest
Yeah.
drummer in the scene. People underestimate Ringo, but I think he was one of the greatest drummers because he was able to give the Beatles. He was able to complete the Beatles' music with his drumming.
Completely Beatles. Very well
Simple,
said.
but
Very well said.
it may sound simple, but it's very, very difficult drumming
Very
sometimes.
difficult. Very difficult. Very difficult. Okay, Dada, we're almost at the end of the show.
Yeah,
I want to personally thank you so much for giving us this time, for sharing your stories, your wisdom with us. This is going to be really, really, really educational for all of us. For all of us, uh, Dada, if you want to have say any last words to our audience or to the young drummers or anything.
Yeah, I would only like to say in the end that
Ji.
I encourage all of you, if ever you want to know something, my door is always open. Give me a call and come, and I'll be happy to share what I know with you. Uh, what you have to what you have to be is to be a musician. You can always be a star, but be a musician first. Try to learn your craft as well as possible. Try to learn from as many people that you have around you. Try to know the music and learn the music. And then there's lots of time to be a star. Don't try to be a star overnight, because then you would be doing injustice to the music. So, my last word is to all of you young drummers out there: be a musician first, then you can be a star. Thank you very much.
Heavy words, heavy words. Uh, Absolutely. This is everyone should follow this. Everyone should follow this. Dada, thank you very much once again for giving us time and sharing all your stories and your thoughts and everything. I can't thank you enough. I mean, this was one of the most informative uh, session of this podcast so far, I would say, because got to know so many things, got to hear so many stories and everything. uh, Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dada. So on
Jojo,
that note, eh,
coming from you, I'm very touched, because I have great love for you. You know that,
thank you, thank
and
you. I love you.
I have to thank you for thinking about this concept. I
Eh,
mean, you have started something new. God bless you. May you have great
Thank you.
success in this. I hope that after drummers, you can start with musicians who are
Ji,
playing other instruments. And
inshallah.
I would like to also thank all the people who can't be seen on the screen, all the people in backstage who've been putting in their hard work, for this nearly 2 hours. I did expect it'll go on for nearly 2 hours.
I told you,
Anyway,
Dada, কথা বলতে বলতে গেলে you
so
don't
thank
know
you, thank
time কোন দিক
yeah.
দিয়ে বলতে।
So thank
No,
them very much on my behalf,
Ji,
and I
I
wish
will.
them all the
I will.
best. And I thank you once
Ji.
again for this wonderful
Uh,
that you're doing for the drumming community and for the musicians community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dada. On that note, everybody, thank you very much for being with us. It was a wonderful session. My personal thanks to Neoda, to the Stargazer team for doing this. We'll see you next week. And meanwhile, stay safe, stay well,
May I? I have not
have
thanked the
fun.
audience. I think I
Oh,
missed out.
oh, okay,
So
please, please, Dada.
I've
No, go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead. No problem.
So so to all the viewers, my sincerest thanks for your patience for the last nearly 2 hours. Thank you very much. God bless you, and stay safe.
Okay, so on that note, guys, I'll be back next week. Eta hoy. Every end of the show, I get over excited because all the information, এতক্ষণের সব ইনফরমেশন আমার মাথায় এখন ঘুরতেছে। Thank you very much, Nyoda, for being with us. Thank you very much, everyone who watched the whole thing and who commented. I'm sure this is going to be a historical episode because Lightning was a historical band. Nyoda is a historical drummer. And I would salute the Ringo Star of Bangladesh for being here with us tonight. Thank you very much,
Thank you very
Dada.
much. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Good
Bye
night. Good night,
bye.
everybody.